I picked the cotton, and I carried it to market, and I built the railroad under someone else's whip for nothing. The Southern oligarchy, which has until today so much power in Washington, and therefore some power in the world, was created by my labor and my sweat, and the violation of my women and the murder of my children. This, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. And no one can challenge that statement. It is a matter of historical record.
Oppressive language does more than represent violence. It is violence. Does more than represent the limits of knowledge. It limits knowledge. Whether it is obscuring state language or the faux language of mindless media, whether it is the proud but calcified language of the academy or the commodity-driven language of science, whether it is the malign language of law without ethics or language designed for the estrangement of minorities, hiding its racist plunder in its literary cheek. It must be rejected, altered, and exposed.
Slavery has not yet been completely abolished. And I think it is important for us to learn how to talk about this institution as it affects our lives today. The prison is precisely one of those institutions in whose structures racism has learned how to hide. And I say this because we often tend to think about racism as attitudinal. We think about it as explicit. We don't necessarily also think about it as being embedded in social and economic and political structures.
That is the story of this country. The story that has brought me to this stage tonight. The story of generations of people who felt the lash of bondage, the shame of servitude, the sting of segregation, but who kept on striving and hoping and doing what needed to be done so that today I wake up every morning in a house that was built by slaves.
And what happened after the Civil War was fought? What happened after we decided that we weren't going to have slavery in this country? After so many folks who came here from West Point died. Did we stop? Did we say to formerly enslaved African Americans, go on about your way, be well? No, we didn't. We had 100 years of Jim Crow. We had a 100-year-long terror campaign. Never forget that the most lethal domestic terrorism, homegrown domestic terrorism campaign was the 100 years of white supremacy that happened here, where the right to vote was abrogated through lynching, where the right to do ordinary, everyday things, to be human, to participate in your society, was abrogated through state violence. The line of plunder, the line of taking things, the line of stripping rights from African Americans is the most consistent line running from the foundation of this country to today.
And I don't think the great evil of American slavery was involuntary servitude or forced labor. I believe the real evil of American slavery was this narrative of racial difference, this ideology of white supremacy that we made up to legitimate the enslavement of black people. So, black people are different than white people. They can't do this, they can't do that. And that narrative of racial difference, that ideology of white supremacy, that was the true evil of American slavery.